Le programme de musicothérapie, ici à l'hôpital, on travaille beaucoup avec des prématurés qui vivent des difficultés physiques à cause de leur maladie, mais aussi émotionnelles. Le cerveau emmagasine toute l'expérience qu'il vit. Donc, si un bébé vit que de la douleur, bien, son cerveau va se former en douleur. Mais le plus qu'on peut donner d'expériences positives, le mieux qu'on peut aider à contrer les expériences négatives.
For the past 20 years, researchers in the neuroscience of music and in neuropsychology have combined their skills to understand and explain how the brain reacts to music. Music has incredible therapeutic virtues, but they are still largely unknown or unjustly underestimated.
OK, on y va.
But beyond that, does music really have the power to heal us, to reconnect us with the world, and even cure us?
En fait, c'est la scientifique qui s'est remise à la musique. C'est très amusant parce que je prends note, en fait, parce que je pense que je vais écrire sur mon expérience de retour à la musique après 30 ans d'arrêt, même que j'aurais peut-être dû me scanner, etc. Là.
Isabelle Peretz, a professor in the neuroscience of music at the University of Montreal, co-founded an international research laboratory, BRAMS, where the effects of music on the brain are studied in great depth.
Donc, on a vraiment tous les aspects, depuis l'enfant, le bébé, en fait, on s'intéresse au développement, jusqu'à la personne âgée. Par exemple, pour la musique, c'est très, très récent qu'on a montré qu'effectivement, le bébé se souvient de la musique qu'on lui a présentée quand il était dans le ventre de la mère. Avant, on pensait qu'on délirait, là, que de toute façon, l'enfant était sourd ou qu'on ne se souvenait de rien. C'est pas vrai, il se souvient.
À cet âge-là, surtout, le cerveau n'est pas assez mature pour s'organiser, pour maintenir un état stable. Puis quand un bébé se désorganise, ben il fait aller ses bras, il pleure, il fait des cris. Puis ça a l'air de rien, mais surtout que Milo, il est né très, très petit. Chaque mouvement lui coûte des calories. On veut les garder relax, on veut qu'ils dorment bien, on veut qu'ils mangent bien, on veut qu'ils prennent du poids.
Where is music located in the brain? How, from our first to our last breath, does our brain manage to store and preserve so many sounds, words, and music? That's what neuroscientist David Popel and his students are interested in.
A friend of mine found this for me from the library in Berlin at the Humboldt-Universität. And it's particularly delicious because it looks very much like my lab, as you know, like for instance, the MEG machine looks just like this. You stick a person in, and then we do something, and we try to understand what comes out. And I think it's a pretty interesting and kind of modern notion that the head contains a list of elements, horses and animals and food and all kinds of, houses. What I find so compelling about this is that there are psychological primitives. That there's a list of things that it's in your head. I mean, the parts list. In the case of speech and language, we have very clear theories of what it is that's stored. Informally, we call them words. So what you do as the speech is coming towards you is you parse the signal into primitives. The elementary Lego blocks are these chunks, about the size of a syllable. Now, in the musical case, we don't actually know. What are the primitives? I mean, what are the Lego blocks that you store? How come as a musician or even as a non-musician, you can recall minutes, dozens of minutes, even hours of musical information with great detail? I can play long sequences of Pink Floyd in my head, I can tell you, with great accuracy. Well, now you can't say anymore that the primitive is just a single note. That doesn't make any sense, right? Now the primitive is a sequence, but is that the primitive? Here's a musical score, for instance, of a classical piece.
Tell us about
right?
this.
So is that what you have stored? I mean, that seems very strange. Is it just an acoustic representation? Here, this is what a spectrogram looks like. Is that what you have stored? I mean, who the hell knows what is actually living in your head? But the notion of music as an aesthetic experience and as a medium of expression, emotion, performance seems to be something very particular and cool and interesting. And we're only beginning to understand what's going on there. And there our understanding is even more woefully inadequate than everything else.
When some young people go through periods of high vulnerability, music helps them hold on to life.
C'est bizarre à dire, mais souvent, j'ai l'impression que les gens perçoivent la musique comme s'ils regardaient un film. Tu sais, que la musique, elle accompagne ce qui se passe dans leur vie ou dans alentour, ou peu importe c'est quoi qu'ils observent. Mais moi, je me sens un peu inversement. C'est comme si tout est juste un accompagnement pour la musique. Ici, c'est la salle de musique dans la rue.
L'organisme dans la rue intervient auprès de jeunes en situation de précarité depuis 30 ans. Et on a des profils extrêmement variés. Problèmes de logement, problèmes de santé mentale, toxicomanie. Toutes sortes de conditions auxquelles les jeunes font face, puis nous on essaie de les outiller pour qu'ils passent au travers, qu'ils puissent cheminer et être autonomes.
Founded by Father Emmett Johns, otherwise known as the infamous POPs, the organization was created in 1988.
On a aussi le dépannage de vêtements, de matériel d'hygiène et des très bons hot dogs. C'est d'abord un endroit où on leur dit « vous êtes accueillis tel que vous êtes et on vous invite à vous exprimer ».
Si je prends par exemple le drum circle qu'on a fait l'autre jour, on dirait que ça remplit beaucoup le besoin de l'homme de se sentir connecté. Comme une version plus saine d'une conversation, je trouve. Surtout quand je jamme avec du monde. De temps en temps, ça arrive que j'atteins ce point-là où il y a comme une interaction entre nous autres, puis quelque chose qui se crée. Puis c'est un peu inexplicable, c'est juste comme quelque chose qui naît de l'interaction musicale entre plusieurs personnes. Puis On dirait que c'est sacré, ce moment-là. Surtout quand c'est de l'improvisation, là. Puis qu'on n'a aucune idée où ça s'en va. Ça va plus loin que ce qu'on peut vouloir essayer de faire consciemment. Tu sais, c'est pas tout à fait juste notre conscient. C'est pas tout à fait involontaire non plus. C'est comme dans ce moment-là, il y a genre un sentiment d'apaisement vraiment fort. C'est comme tout le reste est pas important.
C'est en ça où je disais tantôt le moment présent, la force de l'instant. Par la musique, quand on est dedans, on est à 100% dedans, y compris par l'esprit et par le corps. Ça sollicite toutes nos fonctions cognitives, la motricité, l'attention aux autres, l'écoute, etc. On doit être dans le présent. La musique nous permet, nous amène, nous favorise en fait l'ici et maintenant.
So what is it that happens in music that allows these responses? Improvisation has really been at the core of music therapy practice since its inception. So Charles Limb, when he was looking at these brain images of jazz musicians while they were improvising, said it was very interesting because creativity, this kind of spontaneous play, also requires a lot of brain activity. Several parts of the brain are working. The thing that caught my attention, though, was the fact of what areas get turned on and turned off in improvisation. And it made me wonder about our patients.
Connie Tomaino is a pioneer in the field of music therapy. It's at Beth Abraham Hospital, along with her famous colleague neurologist Oliver Sacks, that she discovered music's ability to heal and stimulate certain brain functions in patients suffering from different neurological ailments.
This is interesting. So during a live, interactive improvisation, the prefrontal cortex undergoes an interesting shift. The part that's inhibited are the areas that are about self-consciousness, self-monitoring, self-inhibition, and evaluation of rightness. How many of us psych ourselves out when we overthink what we're doing, right? By losing yourself in the music, losing yourself in that moment, you're able to actually bypass all that inhibition. It activates arousal of sense of self, which is important, self-expression, and even some of the language areas. You know, even though you may not be using words, if somebody's just playing high-low or a certain rhythmic pattern on a drum, and you're listening to that, you have to process the framework of that sound in order to make a response that makes sense. And actually, language areas of the brain are utilized to understand the patterns of that sound. When people are exchanging musical phrases, the language areas of their brain are actually lighting up as if they're speaking to each other. So how many of you had a bad experience maybe when you were a child, and then if you're close or thinking about that situation, your heart races, right? That's an implicit memory. When somebody has severe trauma, especially before the age of 2, their brain isn't able yet to process the meaning of what they're experiencing. So they become flooded with these implicit associations, physiological responses to situations that when they're 10 years old, they may be in a similar situation and start feeling anxious and not know why. And if the child doesn't have a way of dealing with those feelings, and what happens is the person internalizes them, and eventually the person creates a loop, almost a trauma loop, that they can't get out of. It becomes part of their personality. Key to self-resiliency is being able to develop something called executive function. And executive function is the ability to do multi-step planning. It's the ability to pay attention. It's the ability to have mental flexibility. So when you have a task that requires maybe 2 or 3 ways of doing it, you can actually think about the 3 different possibilities and not get stuck. All things that we actually do in improvisation as well.
A lot of Canadian veterans suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. But what if music could silence the war? Silence their inner struggle.
'96, '97, I went to Bosnia. The war was ended, but people were still killing each other, and we found mass graves. It was ethnic cleansing. The destruction, the death, unbelievable, and to witness and to have to deal with. My son, Jordan, and I took Jordan to a movie. It was about an American soldier whose plane went down in Bosnia, the same place I was at. And he was running through villages and stuff because they were chasing him. And I recognized all the scenery. And something happened, something triggered. And I actually got up out of the movies and I threw up in the garbage can. I had to get out of there. I couldn't breathe because he fell into a pit of mass graves and it was real. And that triggered my PTSD and I was never the same. Never the same. Anywhere you're at, doing whatever, you have a daydream and you're transported out of where you are into the situation. It's like a cycle of despair that goes on and on and on in your head with all of these thoughts and images and flashbacks and pictures and the noise. You just can't shake it. You're in combat. You're in combat in Canada. Everyone around you is a threat. People, putting their hands in their pockets and doing things quickly and but when you're around your kids and they're absolutely driving you crazy because they're crinkling a bag of chips, it's a hard way to live. I didn't know what was happening to me. I thought I was literally going crazy. And then I picked up my guitar one day. I had a guitar in my closet, I just picked it up and started just banging on it. And I noticed it was weird. For about 15 minutes, I completely drifted away. Like a lot of musicians and artists will say that when they're on stage, they're in the zone. Well, that's what I felt like. I was in the zone. And it was like being gently lifted out of that insanity and put in a place of calm and peace and relax. It was like being put into heaven for 15 minutes.
If listening to or playing music has a therapeutic effect, how is a sound, word, or intonation really received and perceived by our brain?
So let's say you said to me, cocktail. The sound comes out of your mouth. Amazingly enough, it's actually a mechanical wave, like a real wave of pressure changing. So this wave comes traveling to my ear and then comes into both of my ears. Now it gets very, so that's just physics at this point. That's physics, and after physics, a lot of interesting things happen. There's a little coiled up device in the ear, a cochlea, and sounds travel in there. They hit a series of bones that activates ultimately brain cells. So now you've gone from physics to some kind of funny part of physics and biology. Now comes the hard part. That signal that's translated now into these little electric pulses gets shuffled up the brain, gets shuffled up into these stations. So there's a whole bunch. My favorite is the superior olive, which is a great word. Another good one is the inferior colliculus. They all have funny anatomic names. And now the final step as well, how is the information stored? That's sort of the holy grail for research. What is actually the neural code? The fact of the matter is we have absolutely no idea. So if you said to me cocktail, I haven't the vaguest idea how that's actually encoded in brain tissue. However, we now know absolutely convincingly 100% that you're actually internally predicting the future all the time. So it's not like a recording device. It's more like a recording device that's saying what should come next. There's very little perception in perception. It's all verification of prediction. We've been working on this from the perspective of covert speech and motor planning. Suppose I'm going to say computer. Okay, I'm planning to say computer. Before I've even opened my mouth, before anything has happened at all, I've sent into the future the sound pattern of how computer is going to look in my auditory system. So my motor system hasn't done anything. My motor system is saying, oh, okay, David is going to say computer now. Let's very anthropomorphize it. Before anything happens, I forward send into the future the pattern of the word computer in the auditory system. Then I say computer. And now I compare my voice saying computer to what I thought computer should sound like. And that's how you actually control errors. That's how you can know whether you're doing well or not, because you always have a forward prediction to what's supposed to be going on, and you compare it to what you actually did. And you say, too loud, too little, too late, lower the voice, make the mouse more like this.
In Montreal, a group of girls who are on the autism spectrum have formed a band.
Jade! Peekaboo! Who came up with the name Fireball Rainbow? Sophie and you? Did you both come up with the name? Yeah. One of you wanted Fireball and one of you wanted Rainbow. So we decided to make it
Fireball Rainbow.
Fireball Rainbow.
Fireball Rainbow. That's the name of our band.
Some of them are less verbal,
Fireball Rainbow. That's the name.
but with a mic in hand, they sing, and the words are set free.
Fireball Rainbow. The all-girl cool band.
Very nice, Jade. Catherine first. Catherine, ton tour. 1, 2, 3, go! Plus fort, Catherine. Fort.
I don't like when someone pushes me out. I don't like when someone says to go in timeout. I don't like when someone hurts my pets.
Wow, that was very nice. Jade, what did you hear from Sophie? What did she not like? Sophie, start like this. Sophie doesn't like.
When someone says to go to timeout.
True. So say that one more time. Sophie doesn't like.
Sophie doesn't like when someone says to put somebody in timeout.
Okay.
Beep, beep, beep. Autism comes in many different forms, and there's probably not one size fits all and a big range. This is why it's a spectrum, and possibly many different causes and different phenotypes, but this is possibly one interesting contribution to that understanding, that is, the perceptual analysis of the world is not properly aligned. The contribution of rhythmic information to learning, it obviously helps you structure auditory signals. It gives you chunks. So if you have very rhythmic information, it segments the signal for you. Yeah, and a temporal organization of information so that you can maybe making the next steps of processing easier.
That's good.
If you look at the brain when you're active in music, you're using almost the entire brain. These little flashes of strength come out. Where a client would have exceeded, let's say, a parent's expectation, a doctor's expectation. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, go.
My favorite song is Five Green and Speckled Frogs because it's a story about 5 little frogs. My favorite song is Five Green and Speckled Frogs because they jump in the pool. My favorite song is Five Green and Speckled Frogs because frogs like to eat flies.
Very nice, I loved that.
That's my turn.
You know why I love that? Because she said everything about that song. She said it clearly, and she knew everything she wanted to say. It came out like butter. Nice job, Jade.
Si tu chantes avec eux, alors ils vont s'améliorer. Par rapport, oui, si tu peux chanter avec eux, alors que ça ne se produit pas pour la parole. Donc il y aurait quelque chose de très spécial par rapport à la synchronisation avec l'autre qui fait, et dans les thérapies, généralement le thérapeute qui va chanter avec le patient ou va le faire chanter, il va se synchroniser.
The street noise, this doesn't bother me. It's a sound of people talking, people whistling, dogs barking. That's much more likely to bother me. Noise from living things, noise from mechanical things, cars. Now those backup alarms that go beep, 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 that bothers me. An intermittent high-pitched noise, because I think that sounds more like a biological sound. Okay, this bus going by, I can sleep through that. When I was a little kid, I couldn't get my speech out. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't get it out. Now, I also had some problems with receptive language. If the adults and the teachers talked really fast, it sounded like blah, 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 blah. And I thought grown-ups had their own language, because when they talked fast, I couldn't understand them. The hard consonant sounds would drop out. Now, when they spoke to me slowly, then I could understand.
Temple Grandin is a professor of animal sciences at the University of Colorado. As a child, she was nonverbal. Encouraged by her mother, and with the help of tutors, Temple was able to reach her full potential, and today is the author of several books on autism.
Build on the thing the kid's good at. When kids get a label like dyslexia, autism, ADHD, or some other kind of label, you tend to have uneven skills. Good at one thing, bad at something else. And there's too much emphasis on the bad and not enough emphasis on building up the thing they're good at.
Ah, Catherine, c'est temps pour? Okay, so, Sophie, what song do you want to hear? A lot of people place limitations on kids with autism. If I have the expectation that my client will never speak, then my client will rise to that expectation and stop there. If I have an expectation that my client would never be able to show a certain emotion or empathy, then I believe that client will go there.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
Catherine has an exceptionally good memory and ear for music. She can recall perfectly a melody she only heard once.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Often these kids with autism appear to be in their own worlds, is how lots of people describe it. They may be talking to themselves, or they're really seeming to be living in a world that is not the world I'm experiencing. There tends to be that one thing for people on the spectrum that clicks, that connects them to how we view the world. Music can often be that door, that connection.
I also want to say kids that are like me, be successful. I'm seeing too many kids, fully verbal, really smart, quirky, socially awkward. You can call them autistic, you can call them Asperger's, you can call them whatever you want, you can call them nerds. That's the same thing. And they're getting labels, and they're getting kind of a handicap mentality. When I was a young child, I was taught how to go up to the counter and order food in a restaurant. I was taught how to do shopping. But I'm seeing too many kids today get a label and they go, little Tommy has autism, so we'll order his hamburger for him. I'm going, no. He's got to learn how to go up to the counter and order it himself.
Chemically, something is happening. You know what I mean? Like something is shifting. And it could even be the harmonics of the chord, the music itself. It might align, you know, your brain. I don't know. Three years ago, we had a lot of soldier and veteran suicides back to back. It was like 3 weeks or a month where every second day someone was committing suicide. And I felt so obligated to do something. So that's when I had the idea of, my guitar helped me, maybe it'll help everybody. Remember D? I know that people have guitars that they got for Christmas, they got for their birthdays, that are in the box, under the bed, in the closet, brand new, because I had one. So I thought, what if I could get those guitars and put them in the hands of soldiers and veterans who are suffering with PTSD and other disabilities? What if I could do that? There's got to be thousands of guitars out there. You know, you feel it all through your body. It's almost spiritual. And I know
it is.
You don't want to say that because, you know, it's kind of, people will go, yeah, right, spiritual. But there is something to it. And it's not even, that's when you just actually have a hold of it. That's before you even play a chord. You know, there's something that it almost calls you.
Well, I find even just tuning, just taking the guitar and tuning it, you know, that is just, you have to focus and you're truly in the moment.
These are all ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got from donations, from people, instead of donating a guitar, they donate enough money to purchase a guitar. So we got 40 guitars here. And these are all going to veterans or soldiers suffering with PTSD. Brand new, either slightly gently used guitar or a brand new one that we send out. We send these right across the country.
Wow. And there's no stigma with saying, yeah, you know, I'm going for my guitar lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, as opposed to...
Because people would be like, wow, cool, you're playing guitar.
Yeah, as opposed to, you know, I got therapy this week.
Okay, let's go. Ton tour. Teach.
Ouais.
Teach, teacher.
OK.
Vas-y,
Donc, commence avec D. Donc.
Your feelings of frustration and your feelings of anger, it's like the guitar actually absorbs it into it.
You all right?
Ben oui.
Chier les
Oui?
Chier les Wicks.
Did you? Sérieusement? Oui. Au cause de Remembrance, jour de... Hein?
Look at the wall.
Hmm?
You know, t'en as perdu, toi, hein?
Oui, oui.
J'en ai perdu 3.
Ah,
Puis militaire. Dimanche, je pogne un Omnisvet qui s'en vient avec nous autres. Je suis pas dans la parade, il est dans la rue. 3 years que j'étais avec lui.
Ouais.
Puis là, il me demande, I would like to go to jour du souvenir.
Ouais.
Je sais pas où ça sort.
Ouais.
I don't know where this is from.
It's grief. It's grieving. Is normal. We don't cry for years. And then we talk to somebody that understands and it comes out. C'est normalement, it's not all the experience. For me, it's October 14th, 2006.
Huh?
Hein?
4 octobre 2006.
Ouais. So it's both October. But that's our most difficult day, but that's where our healing is.
My healing is being with you,
Yeah.
with my vets, my veterans.
That's right.
Helping all the vets.
That's part of it. Big time.
Being in the Legion.
Mais oui. Hanging out with the puppy.
Musique pour nous autres, là, en tout cas pour moi, je me défoule.
Ouais.
Je suis dans ma boîte. Carré.
Ça va? Guitare?
Doing good.
All right. Commence avec des blues. E, D, G.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know. I was getting ready to walk my dog, Luca, average day, and I went to put the leash on her collar, and all of a sudden, like a headache, I knew I was having a stroke. Well, I was in therapy for about 2 years. I could not string words together. No matter how I tried, the most I was able to do was to say 3 words in a row, like the apple is. The way I got around in New York was with signs to taxi cab drivers. I have aphasia. It is a mild case of speaking disorder. I am not drunk. I have had a stroke.
Before his stroke, Harvey Alter was a criminologist called to testify in federal court. So it was a massive shock for him when he got to the hospital and realized his stroke had made him aphasic.
One day, my therapist, she said, let's try something new. I'm up for anything. Please, we'll try it. She said, I want you to sing. I said, come on, I can't even speak, no less sing. She said, I want you to sing happy birthday. I looked at her and said, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lonnie. Happy birthday to you. And we both, we couldn't believe it. Wherever I remembered the words that followed and the intonation that pre-existed and the way to enunciate and to just a miracle. She called in all the other speech language pathologists and had them listen.
In 1978, at that time, the current theory, even for the next, several years, the theory in neurology was that when somebody's brain was damaged, it was damaged. There was nothing you could do to change it. We have so many brain cells, and as they get damaged, you don't grow any back. And all you could do, the best you could do, is to find some kind of compensation, to do things differently with what's left. But if you seem to lose most of your brain function, there's really no hope, right? Today we know they, in fact, any kind of arousal or stimulation can excite networks in the brain into action again.
The brain is actually big and it's designed to be redundant. In other words, you've got two auditory cortexes, right? One in the left and one in the right. So the left may be more important for language and the right may be more important for music, but it doesn't mean that they can't help each other out. So I think that a lot of people think that that's part of the reason why the brain was constructed the way it is so that if you have an injury, the other side can step in and help.
At first, I could sing Happy Birthday with another set of words, like I'm feeling so good, I hope you are too. Everything was happy birthday. It got tired very quickly. Da, 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 da. Beethoven's. How are you today?
Harvey used this singing method to try to help himself produce speech, help himself do that, right? So there's this big part of your brain, the frontal cortex, that's really good at coming up with new ways of doing things, strategies. Harvey found the trick. A lot of our patients don't understand they have to stop thinking about talking because the mechanisms for speech has been damaged, especially if they have a major stroke. But if you can get them to sing, in fact, I get family members to talk like this all the time because it's the only way they will ever speak again. And they do it, and the person starts, before you know it, they start singing back.
I then had to practice how to make my music sound like talking. You know, we practice how are you to produce how are you. I am fine. I am fine.
So he was so excited when he saw that there was actually this group, the Institute, recruiting to actually use singing as a therapeutic tool for aphasia. And so not only did we become friends, but he joined our board of directors and has become a real advocate.
When I give speeches, I say at the end of them, would you believe that I am not talking to you today? Rather, I'm singing my song.
Using magnetoencephalography technologies, neuroscientist David Popel measures brain activity to see if there's a difference between hearing a song or remembering one.
We're in the middle of Manhattan here, and there's elevators and constructions, and the subway goes by here, and there's traffic and cell phones, and God knows what's going on. It's a mess. And we try to keep the electrical environment as contained and as silent as possible, because you imagine, brain activity is really tiny compared to, say, my watch. So we're trying to hear a needle dropping in the front row of a rock concert. So you need specialized detectors, these superconducting quantum interference devices inside the MEG scanner. You need a shielded room. You need liquid helium to keep everything at superconducting temperatures. And then you need some clever experiments, the most important part. So what's happening in the brain as you're analyzing a sound, as you're recognizing a word or a melody, and it's not scary. You literally lie in here, your brain activity is measured, and we control what happens in the experiment. Most of the things you do in your head. You talk to yourself in your head, right? We do that a lot. Let's say the first 5 bars of a famous, I don't know, Yellow Submarine. Okay? Let's play that in our heads. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. It's very precise, as it turns out. And if I measure my brain with this machine, for instance, you're going to see a precise mapping in the auditory cortex of that song. So suppose I ask you right now, stick your head in this, and now play in your head Yellow Submarine. Okay? And then I'm going to play Yellow Submarine to you. I can show you, and I have, these are experiments we are doing and have done, that the patterns are going to look the same. Even the timing is very similar. It's within very small error. Your estimate internally, because let's say it's a song you've heard a lot, is extremely precise.
Très souvent, je vais sortir dans le jam, puis je retourne à penser à ce qui trotte dans ma tête souvent, ou comme mes problèmes ou mes préoccupations. C'est juste totalement une autre approche à propos de ça. Je suis plus super concerné, puis inquiet ou quoi que ce soit. Je suis juste comme, c'est correct, j'ai ces problèmes-là, puis je vais dealer avec. Je sais pas, c'est comme, ça me met dans un autre état d'esprit.
Une jeune m'a dit une fois, sans la musique, je ne serais plus là. La musique m'a sauvé la vie. C'est étonnant, là, à quel point la musique n'est pas juste un divertissement, et que ça peut être la clé.
Years ago, I was told that I was medically untreatable, incurable and that there was nothing that could be done. And it was said by leading cancer doctors from a leading cancer center, world famous, and it was said with complete conviction that I would die from this. I would die probably in 4 to 6 months. If I was really lucky, maybe 9 months. But I couldn't believe that. My nervous system said to me, I had to find a brilliant oncologist who believed that I could get well again.
New York medical oncologist Mitchell Gaynor, who trained at Cornell and Rockefeller Universities, adds music listening along with sound vibration sessions to his strict medical protocol for cancer treatment. He considers that music and its vibrations help the body fight against the illness.
It's very, very relaxing. I was very fortunate because I was at Rockefeller University when epigenetics was really first being described. Epigenetics has to do with gene expressions. What we know now is our genes are dynamic. Like life itself, they can be changed depending on the foods we put in our body, the toxins we put in our body. And I was really amazed to see that there were nutrients that could activate tumor suppressor genes. There were nutrients that could inactivate tumor promoter genes. So there are a number of drugs that are what we call pro-apoptotic. They can restore the ability of a cancer cell to die. Marissa was treated with conventional chemotherapy for 6 months and really did beautifully with it. She ran around the reservoir, I think, every day in Central Park that she was getting the chemotherapy.
I had this disc playing over and over and over in my head that just kept on saying, that voice kept on saying, there's nothing that can be done, you're going to die.
What I teach people is that there are two ways of thinking. There are two ways of seeing. So there's seeing and thinking with the mind, and that's very good for your job, for deciding where to send your children to school, for paying your bills. That's useful for that. But for trying to understand why you have an illness like cancer, or why your child has an illness like cancer, or why certain adversities happen, it can't help you. It'll just make you more and more upset. So the other way of understanding is with your heart. And, you know, the heart is the seat of our emotions. So the only way you can start to understand with your heart is by quieting the mind. You can't quiet the mind with the mind, because the mind's job is to think. The sound aspect happened when I was asked to see a patient at Cornell. It was a young Tibetan monk. He improved enough to leave the hospital and brought me in as a gift a Tibetan metal singing bowl, which are musical instruments. They're made of between 7 and 9 different metals, each vibrating at a different tone, so they sound like church bells. And I was so taken with how quiet that made my mind. And I'd already been working with my patients with guided imagery and meditation, that I started incorporating the sound into that.
And then Dr. Gaynor walks in and he's carrying this big white bowl. And I don't remember exactly, but he played the bowls, and it wasn't that these voices disappeared, but they became part of many, 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 many voices. It was like the whole world, the whole universe. The birds were singing, there were all these sounds. And I could also hear Dr. Gaynor's voice saying, you could get well again.
So when you play one of these, when you're holding it, you literally feel the vibration going through your arm and then through your whole body. It's, or if you play it near somebody, they can feel it.
And I thought, I so want to get well because I have 3 daughters, the love of my life. I so wanted to see them grow up. I wanted to be at their wedding. Now, they didn't have a boyfriend at the time, but I wanted to be at their, I wanted to cry at their wedding and laugh at their wedding and dance at their wedding. And I wanted to be a grandmother.
You don't just hear it with your ears, you feel it throughout your entire body. That starts to change heart rate variability.
Allô, Logan. Comment ça va? Oui, hein? Ça va-tu un petit peu mieux?
Oui, ça va bien. Ouais, il y a moins de reflux. Ça va.
Peut-être qu'on va pouvoir faire des instruments aujourd'hui. Ça te tente-tu? Oh, c'était quoi ça? C'était quoi ça? Bonjour, Logan, bonjour. Bonjour, Logan, bonjour. On fait de la musique. On fait de la musique.
Logan was born very prematurely. He was born without an esophagus, went through many surgical procedures, and experiences a lot of pain.
Bravo!
Tu vas toujours faire une thérapie musicale. Tu peux faire de la musicothérapie. C'est bon.
Bravo! C'est bon. Logan joue le tambour. Bum, 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 bum. Oui, sur les pieds. Bum, 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 bum.
Il a 78 jours. C'est que c'est long pour être en souffrance. Fait qu'on est content quand il est calme. Puis... Ben, voyons. C'est ça. Excusez-moi. Mais c'est pour nous autres, en tout cas pour moi, là, de voir que je sais que c'est quelque chose de positif pour lui. Ça fait plusieurs journées qu'on est ici, plusieurs mois en fait. Fait que je trouve que c'est apaisant. Puis on dirait que moi aussi, ça m'apaise. Puis de le voir que c'est un petit plaisir. Je fais que ça me fait plaisir de le voir. Habituellement, c'est toujours quand les gens viennent, c'est toujours pour faire quelque chose qu'il n'aimera pas ou que ça va lui faire mal. Fait qu'on dirait que c'est comme tout le build-up d'émotions. Fait que quand je me rappelle la première fois que tu as chanté, là, ça me faisait ça aussi. Ça change pas.
Roule, 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 les petits camasas. Roule, 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 les petits camasas. Oui, tu roules, roules.
I just couldn't believe that music or singing to a little baby would make any difference. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, they're just so tiny, they eat, they sleep. If they're crying, you give them a souse and that's it, you know? And I just thought, you know, I was really seriously rolling my eyes, like, really? You know, you're gonna come and sing to this little creature? Like, sure, whatever. But when they do their music, it's very much designed to connect with the age of the baby and their ability to react.
Oui, hein? Ça fait du bien. Ça fait du
Just helps them settle down in every way. they're normalizing their respiratory status and their cardiac status.
Your body is 70% water. It's an excellent conductive medium for sound and vibration. And this Kida Biosonic machine really allows you to feel the music. For my CDs, what I did is I recorded the bowls into a synthesizer and then played them on a keyboard. A lot of nature sounds that I've recorded, forests, oceans, waterfalls, I include those in the background. A person hears with every cell in your body.
Ça me remet en contrôle, ça me permet de me défouler. Quand je pense les fils vont se toucher, je trouve sa guitare. Et quand ma tête commence à aller à gauche ou à droite, je tombe sa guitare. Puis ça marche pas, j'appelle des gars comme lui. Ça calme mes pensées. Ça les enlève pas, ils sont tout le temps là. Ça me calme. Puis là, je viens civiliser.
You're the star of the show, bud.
Wow. La réadaptation au civil est énormément difficile. Tu l'en regardes un. J'ai rentré à 17 ans. J'ai sorti à 44 ans. Ça fait 10 ans que je suis sorti. Un problème de santé mentale, c'est pire qu'une jambe cassée. Ça se guérit, tu sais, quand elle est rétablie. Ben la misère à m'adapter à... Je suis un civil, mais dans ma tête, je suis encore un militaire. Je ne fit pas l'autre bord de la clôture.
My first child, she gave me the gift of life. It was a cool New Year's Eve, and I held her in the window's pale moonlight. Then she looked in my eyes, and I became hypnotized. And me and you, child, our love will remain. My second child, oh, what a brilliant light. I was not long home from Kandahar, and I held her by the window, she was shrouded in white. God gives grace, she's named, and she took away all the pain. Me and you, child, our love will remain. Then along came a boy, it was a stormy winter day. Tears of joy I cried as snow crashed against the window pane. I felt his love's full shine, it began to heal that soul of mine. Me and you, child, our love will remain. On Remembrance Day, I was in uniform. Mother, she held my hand like she carried you in her womb. But then I let her go, and
I stood to salute the flag. You were also innocent. You were running round playing tag. Oh, rejoice in your life. I will stand behind you in your dreams. Oh, my beloved children, our love will remain. Oh, my children, our love will remain. So a lot of soldiers go to war with young children. They bring the war back to their family. So les guitares, c'est pour les familles aussi. C'est pas... Because a better Jean, a better Ryan, a better Denny makes a better family, you know? And a better world. So t'aimes les chansons?
Yeah.
And it's okay to cry. It's okay. I didn't cry for 10 years. Can't stop crying now. Jesus, I'm okay now, but I'll go home and cry. You know? If you don't, it just stays, eh? It just stays in. You gotta connect. If you're sad, cry. You know? If you're happy, laugh. Have fun, you know? We deserve to have fun. We deserve to enjoy our life. Mais les musiques, c'est pas pour moi. Non, j'écris les musiques pour gens, pour les vétérans qui, OK, je comprends. Parce que je comprends. Ouais. Je suis un warrior, infanterie, j'ai joué football professionnel. Regarde, si quelqu'un vient ici avec un weapon, too bad, he's done. That's it. We put ourselves in danger. Mais the strongest qualities come from our feminine side. That's the strongest, the more powerful. I mean, a tsunami comes around and wipes out a country, and it's called Mother Nature. There's power in connecting with our feminine side. The guitar is gentle, you see. It's gentil, calm, mais fort. Dr. Gaynor conducted research on how sound had been used throughout history. He noticed that in all cultures, from Native Americans to ancient Greeks, through Ayurvedic medicine and Tibetan medicine, they all used music. He realized that our medical system was the only one in the world that didn't rely on sound and music for healing. He took an active interest in psychoneuronal immunology and the effects of music and sound on heart rate variations. He also looked into the brain's neurotransmitters, as well as the brainwaves themselves.
And later, there were even studies showing how music and relaxation and meditation could affect numerous genes that had to do with cancer in a positive way.
He realized that when our heart rate is regular, our brainwaves are equally calmer, more relaxed. However, the opposite is also true.
If somebody's very nervous, they have a high heart rate variability. Their heart rate might be 80, then it'll be 92, then it'll be 76, then it'll be 98. That's associated with brainwave patterns that are associated with anxiety. It's about changing neurotransmitters in the brain. All the neurotransmitters, for instance, released if you're having chronic anxiety, worry, fear, depression, there are receptors for those neurotransmitters on all the lymphocytes in your body, the cells that are responsible for preventing the development of or recurrence of cancer. I think as a physician, if you were to ask me what the foundation of human health was, it would be inner peace. So if you can quiet your mind and move more into your heart and just be there in that space, it's very life-altering.
On your side.
Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, brothers, let's go down to the valley to pray. To the Ottawa Valley I went to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. But the songs pull us all together. It's like when we stand for the flag and we all salute the flag. Well, a song does the same thing. And we all go, oh yeah, that's what it feels like. It's a way to communicate to people who don't always want formal communication. And everyone wants to sit down and talk to a psychologist. I'm better off talking to Jean. Psychologists are good. I'm not saying that. I've had a lot of great experiences, but there's only so many times you can talk about something and it gets better, but the person you're talking to doesn't understand what it's like to have a friend to die. Good Lord, show me the way. You know, sometimes it's hard for men to say, but the people that we lost, we love them like brothers. So we lost someone we love. We feel responsible. And that's the brotherhood, the sisterhood, it's a family. Yeah, but it's not your fault. It doesn't ever go away.
I think music does come from somewhere else, something else, you know? It's the voice of God, maybe. It's the vibration, it's being in harmony with things. I can't explain it. It changed my life.
La chose extraordinaire, c'est que j'ai découvert sur le tard, que je savais de façon scientifique, livresque, c'est le plaisir, il ne viendra pas de jouer tout seul, non, c'est de jouer avec les autres. Et c'est vrai, c'est inouï, c'est un plaisir que je ne peux même pas qualifier, qui est un plaisir énorme. On est tous sur un high juste de jouer une note bébête, mais en même temps que l'autre. C'est incroyable.
How did the components of music trigger, excite, engage these neural networks into action to allow ability where there seems to be some disability? And so I think that's what we do so well. And just in summary, that neuroscience is helping us understand that. Certain parts of the brain get excited and other parts get inhibited. And we've seen it clinically. So there has to be something like this going on. It has to be. It's just a matter of time before the scientists will actually show us how. Yes, catch up, thank you. That's Oliver and I used to say that all the time. Connie, they're finally catching up with us, you know. It's true. Good, so thank you. Have a nice speaking to you today.
The brain is a complicated place, right? It's a small place, but it's a complicated place. It's only this big, right? So it's only, let's say it's, 80 to 90 billion cells, and they live in this tight space, but each one has thousands of neighbors. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the problem, our neighborhood galaxy in which we find ourselves living here, the Milky Way, right, has about 100 billion stars. That's a big place, a very big place. The same order of magnitude cells are squished into this amount of space. So just the local interaction is so staggeringly complicated, we don't even have the mathematics to figure it out. Right, so in some sense, it's a hopeless problem at the moment. So we should just go home and, watch some Netflix.
Logan, c'est le temps de se dire au revoir. Logan, c'est le temps.
Since this movie was shot, Logan finally left the hospital and came home for the first time.
On a bien joué aujourd'hui. Logan, tu as bien joué aujourd'hui. Au revoir, Logan. Au revoir à toi. Au revoir, Logan. Au revoir à toi. Et c'est le temps de se dire au revoir. Au revoir, Logan. Au revoir. Au revoir, Logan. À la prochaine fois.
Thank you.